Welcome to Under the Greenlight, where business owners share their story about entrepreneurship, open up about their greatest victories and challenges, and map out their journey from startup to success. And now here's your host, Demery Henry, Managing Partner of Greenlight Tax Group.
Welcome to Under the Greenlight. I'm your host, Demery Henry. I'm the Managing Partner of Greenlight Tax Group, and this is a show about business owners for business owners. Today we're talking to Stacy Elston, owner of ElstonAire. It's also the parent company of Ac Geeks. And then we have Melanie Jennings here with me, and she's actually my colleague with me at Greenlight Tax Group. And she's here because she just makes sure everything runs properly. And so since it's our very first podcast, she's going to be here and making sure everything gets done properly. Okay, so we're just going to have a normal conversation here. Even though it's the first podcast, we've never done this before. We're going to pretend like we've done this a million times. And so I just want to kind of jump into the question. I remember, Stacy, the first time I met you at your conference room, and we were talking about your business and how you got started, over 20 years ago? Mm-hmm. What made you decide to create an HVAC company? It's not like every little boy is running around town going, man, I just want to own an HVAC company someday. So what was the genesis of that?
Well, I've always loved mechanics. And I used to run some of the largest companies in Dallas. But my history from the very beginning, which perpetuated me into air conditioning, was when I was little in Muskogee, Oklahoma. My dad was sickly, mm-hmm. and he was legally blind and had other extreme health issues. So he's pretty much confined to the house. One of the things he needed to do was always remain cool. Now, we were economically challenged. We grew up on government assistance. And I remember vividly that there was a Tuesday that the air conditioner went out. So my dad called the air conditioner guy and says, hey, my air conditioner's out. Can you look at it and tell me what's wrong with it? So my dad, the guy looked at the air conditioner, and he came back and he said, well, sir, it's broken. It's going to take about $146 to fix it. So my dad said, okay, well, I tell you what, I'm on a fixed income, but here's $70 cash and the pink slip to the car. If you come back on Friday, I get paid on the 1st. I'll give you the rest of it if you give me back the pink slip. So the guy looked at my dad and he said, well, sir, I'd like to help you, but I don't work for free. So when I saw the look on my dad's face, it really tore me up. So I was a sophomore at this time, about to go to Hvac. And I told my coach and my friends that, you know what, I have to focus.
Yeah.
And that mission was to help him get air conditioning. So I went to Hvac, and then I focused on learning air conditioning and walked around the neighborhoods where they threw all their window units away or whatnot. And in 3 months from the time that guy told my dad no, I built him his first window unit out of scraps that I found.
That's amazing.
And from that point on, he died 2 years later, but he never had to worry about air conditioning.
Isn't that amazing? And I love stories like that because there's always a story behind a business owner and how you got started. What was your inspiration and your motivation? And I remember you telling me that story, and I love it. So I really appreciate you sharing that. So going from a kid, a sophomore in high school, creating your very first window unit and helping your dad, how did that translate into you starting a business and becoming a multi-million-dollar successful business owner? I mean, you went from yourself all the way to now you have over 21 employees. You're growing rapidly. You're going to continue to grow. So what was the mindset that made you go from, I just created one and now I think I can create a business into that? Was that instant or did that happen over time?
No, actually, again, going back to my dad. And I'll reference him quite a bit because he's the foundation that I built the business with. Because I'm his legacy. So I remember saying, well, actually, I'm the message that he's sending to a time that he knew he would never see. And so that was my fire, to make sure that I could take care of my family and, represent all the struggles that he had, that he wanted to accomplish for us that he couldn't. So failure was not an option. So I always knew that I wanted to be my own business owner. And so I was smart enough to go to school and work for companies so that I can learn the logistics of how business worked. And then just, using my family as a catapult and my inspiration to open my own business as well as help other people, especially coming from an economically challenged background.
Right.
One of our foundations is to help others. We've done that. And so by creating that kind of avenue, it gives an inner sense of happiness and, the motivation just to be successful.
So do you remember who your first employee was that was not, you or your wife? Because you and your wife started this business together.
Yeah.
How many years have you been doing this business?
I've been doing it 35 years.
35 years.
Yeah.
So do you remember the first employee you hired and what they did?
Okay, so my first CEO, the boss was my wife, obviously.
Right.
But then
She's still the boss. We know that.
Yeah. So we actually hired our executive assistant, Kim, right out of high school. And she's been with us for about 20 plus years and has been an extremely wonderful asset to the company. And then obviously as time progressed, then I hired my children. They really didn't have a choice, but we thought it was important to hire them to teach them how to work in the business. Then we fired them and then we brought them back. And so the appreciation for the business they got. And now my youngest son is really the third in command and is a true blessing in the business. So the wife and I can kind of take a back seat.
Right.
And he's phenomenal.
So thinking about the journey you and your family have been on from starting this company, obviously you started it, you didn't have any kids.
Right.
And then now you're a new dad and then the kids are growing up in the business and they're starting to now work in the business. And I know your daughter used to work in the business, but recently you decided to let her go venture somewhere else. How has that impacted you and your family? From a personal perspective, because that's hard. Again, you're wearing so many hats.
Yeah.
You're the dad, you're the CEO, you're the janitor, you're operations, you're head of sales, you're head of HR. But then you've got kids that are growing up in it and the world is changing constantly. So how have you been able to be successful as a husband and a father and a business owner?
Well, I think it all boils down to your mission in life and leadership. I know that I have to be on point with just about every decision I make, whether I'm dad, Mr. Elston, business owner, or grandfather even. Because again, it goes back to that generational legacy where I want them to be comfortable. I want them to learn work ethic, which are great things that they need and essential in life. And it also affords us an opportunity to spend more time together because we dictate our outcome.
Right.
And so by building this as United Front, it's really just made our lives so happy. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
No, and I mean, that's amazing, but I know it's hard.
Yeah.
Even though you've been so successful,
Yeah.
I know it's not always been easy.
No, sometimes you run into your low points.
Right.
But again, for me, low points are my motivation to do better. We've had some extreme challenges that have come through, and as you mentioned with my daughter, sometimes it's better to stay close. You have to separate.
Right.
And in this particular case, I was glad to give her a trade that would allow her to take care of her and her children.
Yeah.
And she's still doing air conditioning, and she's making great money doing it, which, females make some of the best technicians, believe it or not.
I believe it.
Yeah. You guys are super.
Yeah.
You're great. So,
details.
Yeah. Detail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, that's why we have Melanie on the show. Details.
Detail oriented, yeah. And she's a great she's a great combination of my wife and I put in one. And then it goes back to us being able to utilize that to help others understand that, hey, here's another opportunity that you could use for a job career.
I want to hear how you fired your kids.
Well, did you fire your kids or did she ask to be let go?
No, they never asked to let go.
Oh, okay.
No, 8 to 5, my wife and kids understand I'm Mr. Elston. I'm not husband. And I'm not
I
Dad.
will vouch
Yeah,
for that. I
yeah.
can tell you, I've been in their office, and 8 to 5, he is Mr. Elston.
Yeah.
To everybody
Yeah.
on staff, not just your family.
Yeah, because again, there has to be that line of demarcation, and it takes the sensitivity out of the business.
Right.
So if you won't do it to anyone else, you can't do it to me, you know. And I never wanted nepotism to be an issue in my business. I've worked for businesses where that was an issue,
Right.
and it runs you away. But also, if Dad is not here one day, then how would you handle life if Dad's not here? If you don't have your own business, you're going to have to respect others, and it's what they say and how they say it is what you need to do. It's also translated into our family life, because when you have the patriarch, again, you know, it's there. Everyone has a role, and if everyone appreciates their role and does what they're supposed to do, it makes life easy all over. And
Yeah.
that's what we've done.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to shift the conversation a little bit into your business operations and your financials. I mean, you're a client of ours, so we are very familiar with your books and your profitability. You guys have done an excellent job of that. Actually, I can honestly say it's probably exceptional from some of our other clients, because oftentimes we have to go in and do a lot of cleanup. With you guys, that's absolutely not the case. And so thinking about that aspect, because Demetra she's the one who runs all of the numbers, thinking about that and knowing that the accounting is really the foundation of your company, because that's where you get all the information so you can make smart business decisions, whether it's hiring other people, expanding, downsizing, things like that. So as you're thinking about your business and where you were last year when we met, what was it that really intrigued you about Greenlight Tax Group, our team, and why you ultimately decided to hire us and bring us part of your team?
Yeah. You know, I've always doubled down. And, you know, we have an original CPA. She's been fabulous and still is wonderful. But one of the things that you also look for when you're in a business that's growing is, you know, are there other new, fresh ideas out there? And so when you guys, when we spoke, I really enjoyed the conversation of the necessities of looking for other alternatives in the tax world to help save us money. Obviously, that's what it's all about. And you guys brought some new, fresh, innovative ideas, and I love the savings that you brought right off the bat.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is we are a tax planning group, but as you know, we do so much more as it relates to, you know, drilling down, looking for the profit margins and looking at the KPIs, asset protection, business succession planning. But people ask me all the time, you know, why do you focus on the tax planning and the tax side of it? And the real reason is everybody has a feeling about taxes. You can ask them, how do you feel about it? And there is a real feeling associated for that. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So this morning we were actually on a call, me and your wife, Demetra, and we were with Scott Lockhart, who is our fractional CFO. And we were drilling down, talking about some of your goals and what you want to achieve short term, maybe long term. And you said something, you know, thinking about your growth, one of the biggest challenges is you've got to be able to hire the right people. And you kind of touched on this earlier. And so tell me about what it's been like in years past, and perhaps how it's changed now, the dynamic of finding strong talent, people who really want to work, that are going to be successful in your industry. And has it been challenging? And if so, why?
You talk about from a tax perspective or in general?
I'm talking about in general, just getting people, recruiting strong talent to be part of your team. Because, you know, we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
I know that the technicians who work with ElstonAire and other air conditioning companies around the country, I mean, if you're really good at what you do, you can earn 6 figures or more. And so I would think that this would be a really awesome sales job for folks. And I'm just wondering why is it challenging to recruit these folks into these types of positions? And what could we do different? How could we change that?
Well, I think the narrative is, especially being in America, one of the greatest countries in the world economically, we've not had to go through a whole lot. And our kids, I would say, have had the luxuries of life of not really understanding what struggle is.
Right.
And so to a degree, I think part of the issue and the challenge of finding new people is they really don't understand struggle.
Hard work.
Hard work. And so sometimes there's this false sense that it's always going to be here. And, when we look at the economic challenges of 2008 and, of course, the one that had just passed, America is resilient, especially Texas, with regards to economically bouncing back. And so sometimes, from what I've interviewed, some of the individuals I've interviewed, they just don't understand that, look, while the opportunity is here, a job is a privilege. It's not a right of rescission.
Right.
And so because so many individuals have had it pretty easy, they're not thinking long term. So one of the things we've done is try to catch young individuals out of high school, go to junior colleges, and help them appreciate, always focus on worst case scenario.
Right.
Anything else is a privilege. And if you do that, then, your life, where do you want to be by the time you're 33? Where do you want to be by the time you're 47? The average retirement age is 68. Well, what if you could cut that by 20 years and live the life that you want?
Right.
And like you've mentioned, people don't understand how much money is in air conditioning as far as a career. It's COVID proof, obviously.
Right.
But, some of the top people make anywhere from $500,000 to $250,000 a year. The average technician, if they're pretty decent, can do $150,000 easy a year. It's a great career.
That's a great career, especially for somebody who likes to work with their hands. Yeah. They like to do customer interfacing. They like to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Are there schools right now that are teaching this? So, this isn't something you have to go to college for.
No.
And college right now, the prices are insane.
Yeah.
And so this is something that could provide a really incredible life that could be very rewarding in so many different ways, not just with the money, but with the lifestyle. So if somebody is interested in this type of career, how would you suggest they get into it?
Well, obviously, because there's no shortage. Matter of fact, in our industry, we're hundreds of thousands of individuals short.
Wow.
And so there's an extreme need. And if an individual can think out of the box and get out of the mindset, college is great.
Right.
Not knocking it. But there are other ways to make a great living without incurring a huge debt that you have to pay back. And then you can start living your life.
Right.
I can tell you, I didn't go to college. I was about to, but air conditioning really had gotten to do so well for us that, I'll put it this way, it's afforded me an opportunity in a life that my wife and I could not have imagined.
Right.
And we're very comfortable. And so we're trying to pass it on to other individuals. There are schools that teach it, junior colleges and whatnot, but right now you could literally go to air conditioning businesses and they'll, like us, Ac Geeks, we'll train you. We'll pay you and train you.
Pay you and train you at the same time.
Yeah, with no problem. And the thing about what's good about especially air conditioning is, when you learn the skills in air conditioning, you get 3 trades in one: electrical, plumbing, as well as air conditioning.
Oh, wow, yes.
But you can also apply what you learn in air conditioning to life skills. Think about it. When you go repair something, that those endorphins that you get that feel good of helping someone, not only does it really turn you into a nicer person, but you feel good at the end of the day when you're done.
You feel successful, like you did something well, and so you get to have those little wins every day. So you're helping people, but you're also making money. So thinking about your business right now, what would you say is maybe the greatest challenge you're facing as it relates to growth? And think about it, because you wear a lot of hats. So you have the people internally, operations, systems, and processes. There's the competitive landscape that you're having to deal with. You're dealing with things like the war right now going on in
Yeah.
Russia and Ukraine, with now all of a sudden gas prices in California are $7. So it went from $3.50 to $7 in a matter of 2 weeks. These are things that business owners have to face and deal with every single day.
Right.
You've been doing it for years. So when stuff like this happens, how do you deal with it? How do you process it? And how do you decide if it's a priority?
Well, it's really, sometimes it's challenging to navigate, but it's not difficult. You really have to understand, what is your bottom line? What are you trying to accomplish? And that's wonderful things that Greenlight, you
Yes.
guys bring to our attention.
Appreciate that.
And so having a financial plan, which is what you guys, your strength is, we recognize we also needed that as a part of our team. So like the conversation we talked about, the conversation was the narrative of where are you trying to go? What are you trying to accomplish? Not just long term, but short term.
Right. And how are we going to get there?
And how you're going to get there. So that's where your group is important to us, because as a business owner, like you say, we have to wear so many different hats that we really don't have time to think about those things with the amount of time that we really need to.
Right.
And so having you guys on our team has been an asset. So it actually, when I know that there's a need, you'll bring it to my attention. Otherwise, I don't have to worry about it. And I direct my energy into developing our technicians, fine-tuning our staff, making them efficient, and going to grow the new business.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like every other business owner would kind of say the same thing. You're
Yeah.
actually having to dodge and dive all the time. So it's not new. So when crises happen, whether it's COVID or a war or supply chain management, this is not new to you, which is why, in my opinion, business owners are the greatest, most fascinating people in the world, because you deal with everything from start to finish, from A to Z.
Right.
And it's remarkable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get a little bit personal now, if that's okay.
Sure.
And talk about, given all the things that you're doing, we were talking about all of your many hats. I mean, it can be very stressful. So what do you do when things get stressful? How do you manage your own stress?
Well, I guess I'm not the average guy. Honestly, I don't let a lot of things get to me. I place things in the perspective that they belong. And for me, my mindset, because my dad always told me, always prepare for worst case scenario, and know that whatever you're going through, there's someone that would be willing to trade places with you. And so sometimes you do, as a business owner, you have to take on basically the whole world, because as a business owner, it's not just you. It's not just your family. You're responsible for all of your employees.
Yes.
And so you take their burdens on too. And you always have to be the one, the strength, basically. And so that can be draining. But when, for example, there was some things that had happened to me last year that, cost the company a little bit of change, I'll say. But we came through it easy. But it was kind of a low spot for me when we had a division in Houston. And that, along with some personal things, happened. And basically, I thought about, I live in a great country that's not war-torn.
Right.
My health and my family's health is great. There would be someone somewhere in the world that would be glad to trade places. And I will say, my wife and I, we went overseas. We really didn't know how fortunate we've been. And then when you see other individuals and how they live, you just learn to count your blessings.
Yeah, be grateful.
That, and maybe a little exercise, and that just works out.
Little exercise? Well, we have talked so many times, and I know what you're saying is true, because you always offer a different perspective.
Yeah.
And what I love about you too is it's not always your perspective.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've heard another perspective and you're like, what do you think about that? So I can definitely see how that's helped you as a business owner, really trying to think about things from a different perspective and being grateful and just focusing on what you can control yourself.
Yeah.
And how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And I do think that it is critical as a business owner to be able to compartmentalize so that you can turn things on and turn it off. Meaning today, I'm focusing on sales. This is our biggest issue, and this is what we have to do. This is the line item today. Okay, tomorrow, I have a kid issue. Now I've got to focus on that for just a second. I'm going to put that on the shelf, but you've got to be able to kind of compartmentalize, prioritize, and then delegate too.
Right.
You know, and I know you and your wife have done a great job with that.
Yeah.
So if you were going to reward yourself, you know, thinking about, okay, I've had a great day, or it's been a great year and it was challenging and we got through it. How do you reward yourself? Because you have to feel the wins, but then also experience the reward, you know, kind of like a work hard, play hard mentality.
Well, you know, for me, candidly, if I've had a great week, Macallan 25 Scotch.
Oh, okay.
I'll have that, you know, at my wife and I's ranch, and I just sit back and just absorb it all in.
Right.
It's just a wonderful, relaxing thing. And I think one of the things that you do in order to really sit back and look at your accomplishments is sometimes it's not having to go out and buy certain things or travel certain places, because certainly that comes with it. Being able to do that, buy what you want, to do what you want, but just simply sitting back, taking it in, and not only being appreciative to the Creator for what He's done for you, but reflecting on, if my dad was here, how would he feel? And just looking at other individuals and seeing how you've changed individuals who may not have been able to be economically sound to where they're sound now. And it's just a self-reflection, you know. It's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. So for me, reflection is great.
Oh, that's great. And I know you and Demetra you have a ranch and you're building out there, and that's incredible. You deserve that, and it's going to be a huge legacy for your family for years to come. Yeah. And it's not, again, it's not about necessarily being the business owner and running your business. It's about what is that going to do for your family and all of the other people that you touch. And you're definitely living that.
Yeah. Sounds like you get out into nature too a little bit on the ranch, and not just the busyness of.
Oh yeah, it's you know
city.
Really, the city is wonderful, but you know, reconnecting with nature is huge. You know, when we were growing up, you know, we used to play and run, and life is great, business is great, but sometimes we forget about the simple things.
Yeah,
and that's what it's been able to allow us to do.
Scotch and nature, right?
Scotch and nature.
There's no better combination, I'll tell you.
I love that. Okay, we got to write that down. Scotch and nature.
Yeah.
You do the nature, but do you do Scotch?
I can.
Well, actually, you know what? Mel can. She totally can. She could do the Scotch, the whiskey, all of it.
You need to try it. It's great.
I do. Yeah. Sounds like it. I'm going to write that down.
I'll invite you.
I love it. Okay, so you know what? I want to ask this question to everybody. And as a business owner, who you've won, you've lost, you've failed, you've been kicked down before. So as a successful entrepreneur, what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs wanting and thinking about starting their own business? So imagine somebody your age, you know, back when you were a sophomore in high school, or maybe in college, and maybe they're working for the man and they're like, I am tired and I'm thinking about doing something on my own. What would be the nugget of advice that you would give them?
Well, first of all, know exactly what it is that you want to do and be realistic with your goals.
Okay.
And understand the most important thing is surround yourself with people that know what you don't know.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And also make sure that you understand that Rome wasn't built in one night. You know, especially in today's times, we have a lot of individuals that they expect business success to come right away. You know, it took us 20 years to get where we are.
Right.
So as long as they understand that, you know, and be honest. Number one, integrity is key. And that's why you have to have a good tax person, because my dad said two things that you never do. Never lie, never steal, and pay your taxes.
Pay your taxes.
Definitely pay your taxes. And I give extreme credit to our tax team, my wife and you guys, with regards to making sure that's always been big for us, you know. And as long as you do that, and with the mindset that you're out to make a difference, to help someone, always help, you'll be successful.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. You have to care.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, you have to care about doing it right and making a difference.
Yeah. Don't let money make
Right.
you. You make money.
It can't be just about the money.
Nah.
We've seen that time and time again, and we've seen it crash and burn.
Big time.
So
Big
that's
time.
great. So thinking about your experience, is there something that happened early on in your career, like was a major fail that really kind of brought you down, but said, it's fine, I'm going to keep going? That made you stronger or gave different perspective?
Yeah, there was, when my wife and I first started the business, we ran into an opportunity right before we had won a contract out at DFW Airport. And throughout that whole tenure, prior to that, we were about to partnership with another company that was a little bit bigger than us.
Okay.
And we had formulated, had all the agreements, everything was drawn up and ready to go. And at the last second, the individuals backed out. And that was low because economically, we had put in a lot of time and effort into it, and it really almost cost us the contract and business in general. And so that was a very nerve-wracking time. But we got through it from the standpoint of just being tenacious and prayerful and just saying we're going to be all right because our business success is contingent on us,
right,
and what we do. And it was kind of a low time because we lost some money doing that opportunity. But reputation is everything, and so we were able to bounce back and rebuild the reputation. Well, it was never lost, but I'm just saying,
right?
It took off in a way, and actually worked out better for us in the long run because it allowed us to put our footprint and our personality and our goals into the business, which is really what we needed to get where we are now.
Right. It was a blessing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we touched on it a little bit earlier. We talked about Ac Geeks. So I want to give everybody an opportunity to understand what Ac Geeks is. So ElstonAire is the HVAC company, and then you have another company right underneath that is Ac Geeks. Tell us a little bit about Ac Geeks.
So ElstonAire is more the facilities maintenance, commercialized aspect of our business. Ac Geeks is the new, fresh alternative for residential air conditioning. Now, we do like commercial too, but for residential, you remember the Mr. Maytag guy?
Yes.
Yeah, the professionalism.
I remember what he looks like.
Yeah, and I grew up loving those commercials. The professional, a guy that you can depend on and trust, and I wanted to get that mantra back. And so, we wanted not to look like every other air conditioning company. So when you look at our uniforms and our trucks and things of that sort, it's different. And of course, it's also changed with the times that the new clients are, the younger individuals who are homeowners nowadays. And then, of course, but I didn't want to lose the integrity and the old school feel of honesty and, repair it right the first time.
Right.
Type of mindset. So Ac Geeks was a great balance. Plus the colors work just great.
Yeah, no, it works great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a really cool name too.
Yeah.
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I love that. Okay, so we're going to wrap up, but I want to go through some fun fire drill questions just to get to know you a little bit more. So my first question is, what's your favorite movie?
Ooh. I'll give you two.
Okay.
The Notebook.
Oh.
The Notebook's my all-time favorite. Yeah.
That says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, The American Underdog is another, it's about Kurt Warner. Great movie.
Yes.
Great movie.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Very inspiring.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now we all know a lot more about Stacy Elston. I love
that one.
So what's your favorite book?
Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay. When did you read that?
Probably, it was introduced to me by my perception coach, probably about 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, now here's the kind of my last question, and it's kind of drilled down, and if coulda, woulda, shoulda, if you coulda do anything. And so if you weren't a successful business owner,
Right.
okay, and you had the choice, you could be a professional athlete, you could be a very successful musician, you could be an actor, a legendary author, or let's say the director of the CIA. What would you choose?
Or what would your wife choose for you?
Yeah. Or what would your wife say? That would be like a good game show question where she has to write it down and we hold it up.
Acting.
Really?
She loves Denzel Washington.
So she would want you to be an actor. What would you want to be?
I can say an actor.
Actor,
Yeah,
okay.
I can say actor. I love Will Smith. You know, I think, you know, his acting qualities,
Well,
and
he's
Tom
kind of-
Cruise.
He's got the trifecta.
Yeah.
Because he can act, he can sing, he can dance.
Yeah. Tom Cruise, and then Ben Rames, my wife and I met him in the Woodlands
Oh, wow.
a while back. He and a couple of other actors. And they seem like they have so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, I think that would be something I really would have been interested in doing.
Well, you know what? I think that kind of sums it up really well. I think no matter what you're doing, you need to have fun.
Yeah.
Whether it's being an actor or a professional athlete or a business owner running an HVAC company. And you know what? You look like you're having fun anytime I'm around you.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing something right.
Thanks.
I think you should keep on doing what you're doing.
Appreciate it. Life's great.
Yes. Well, that is all for our show. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, this is Stacy Elston with ElstonAire.